Hey now, Petey Grizz here, back at it again with another interesting piece of the long and arduous Swiss Army knife story. So, I was tipped off to this by my good buddy Jeremy. Thanks, Jeremy. And this is an unusual configuration of this style. And I got a deal on it, so I was like, let me check it out and see what it's all about. I couldn't see, in the photos were poor as usual. I couldn't see any stamp marks. I could see like some patent numbers, but nothing that I could judge anything with. At the time, I was thinking that it might be a British company that made some clones called Rogers. But then I guessed that it was French, and I turned out to be right. Imagine that, me being right. Happens once in a while. Anyway, we've got this lovely little brass clevis, bail, shackle, whatever you like to call it. I go with bail generally. But the brass, I always see these brass. The French knives seem to always have brass bails, like this one. So that was my first hint. And it's also decorated. You know, it's had some file work done to an engraving, whatever. Very cool. It's got this bird's eye rivet, you know, which is kind of poorly done, which is another tip to French manufacturer. For some reason, they just love to foul up these exposed pins, beat them till they look like an egg. But the shield, man, check out that shield. Very cool, you know. I mean, obviously, it's a ripoff of Victorinox, but I love the dagger with the cross. I wish I had a Victorinox with that shield on it. Very cool. And it's in nickel silver. Little 2-layer jammer. So we've got the corkscrew. Just a plain 4-turn corkscrew. Nothing fancy. A little bit more heavy duty than a Victorinox. You know, bigger. It says a longer knife overall, probably about 105 millimeters. There it is compared to a 91. It's got aluminum liners and spacers. Here is one major fault with this knife. Look at this punch awl, whatever you want to call it. It looks like when they were sending the specs, you know, to make the punches, that they used the width, the thickness at the liners, not at the scales. Because usually those awls will look something like this and come out here. The reason it's a problem is the awl is super hard to get out, because look at this thumb notch to nowhere. It's on a road to nowhere. And but it still comes out if you get it in the right spot. I forget where. Oh, I just trimmed my fingernails yesterday. I might not be able to get this out. Oh, we're almost there. The struggle's part of the fun. But very thin awl. I mean, a nice awl nonetheless, but just very thin. A delicate tip. And this is all because this awl should be, you know, nearly twice as thick. It should come all the way out to here. And the taper should be much less drastic. Very, very unusual. Don't know what to say about that other than it's just a factory foul up. So let's check this out now. This is another interesting part. What does that look like? Well, we've got the Victorinox style can opener screwdriver combo. And it's got a patent number on it. Not going to lie, I have no idea what's up with this patent number. I don't know if they just used Victorinox design and paid them royalties. I have no idea what's going on there. Or maybe it's just they patented the design themselves in France. I really don't know. It's interesting, though, because it's on the blade layer. So it's a thinner can opener than usual. You won't see this on a Victorinox knife where the can opener closes in place of the clip blade. Next up, we've got a wood saw. And this was what finally set me over the board on France. I have another French knife that I can't be able to seem to find at the moment. What else is new? But it has this stepped spine on the saw like this. Looks like a good saw. Let's see. Yeah, she'll cut stuff. She'd cut stuff. Not as good as a Victorinox saw, in my opinion, but handy nonetheless. last but not least, let's check the main event out. Bam! And check that out. It's a blade, combination blade cap lifter. Interesting. This has a patent number on it. So again, I don't know if that patent number is their patent number, which I don't see how, because these blades have been around on various knives for a long time. So I suspect this, I don't think this is any, older than the 80s, maybe the 70s. So it's not a particularly old knife. So, I mean, I've seen many fish knives from the 50s and 60s that have a cap lifter blade combo. So, yeah, interesting that it's got a patent number. And here we can kind of make out the stamp, if I can get it just right. Yeah, that's about as good as it's going to get. It says Joyo in a very stylized fashion with a big flourish off the top of the J. Inoxidable. Does not say made in France anywhere. I could find absolutely fuck all on the brand Joyo. Unfortunately, there's a cheap guitar pedal brand named Joyo. So any search for Joyo just comes up with guitar pedals everywhere. It was useless. But certainly a cool little knife. I really like the configuration of the, it's kind of like a lumberjack or a walker, except it has back tools, a little bigger, obviously. But, I like the having the saw and the blade pair with the back tools. That's super cool, and not having to have, a third layer. Let's compare it to a Safari Trooper, 108 millimeters. So we can see that this is just a tad bit shorter. I bet this is right at the 105 millimeter knives. Rather than use rulers, I just measure knives with other knives of known lengths. How about that? But, and as far as other French knives go, this is my third or fourth French knife. Here's the first one I got. This is a Pradel. These are like Pradels are super common, not this style. Pradels normally look more like this. If anything, I'd suspect that Pradel and this company are, jointly owned, or, one owns the other. But they did make, earlier on, they made ones that were meant to look exactly like Swiss Army knives, as close as they could make it. And this is a nice knife. The only thing that bothers me is this, these springs don't line up. What's up with that? Like, if that's by design, it just seems unfortunate. And this shield is just kind of funky looking. It's very bold, very bold. Society Hercos San Luis. Oh, on the Rhine. Okay. San Luis on the Rhine. Material Modern. Yeah, this is for some Swiss or French travel agency or something like that. But the cool thing about this knife is this blade. That's a beautiful blade. It's more of a scout type blade than a Swiss Army type blade. It's just a little bit beefier. It's got this Pradel stamp with this beautiful hatchet. I love this blade. Love it. I didn't like this knife. This knife grew on me. Every time I pick it up, I like it a little more. The fiber on here is excellent. It almost reminds me of leather, and the way they hot stamped it. Certainly cool. And then just a few weeks ago, we looked at another French knife, this beautiful pearl from Barge-Terre. And this was bought by a U.S. soldier in 1919, after the end of the war. So that is super cool. We've got this blade with the awesome lizard stamp. Check that guy out. That was the main event for me. When I saw that stamp, the pearl was what drew me in. The lizard was what sold me. And I bought it before I even noticed this. It's got the original owner's name carved in the back. R. Floyd, 1919. That's beautiful. And another cool thing about this knife, I'm not going to do the whole thing. How many corkscrews can you look at? It does have the early slotted screwdriver in lieu of a cap lifter screwdriver, because cap lifters were just starting to become common by then. So some knife companies didn't adopt them until the 1920s. Some adopted them earlier in the 1915 area. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peter Grizz out.